the silent warrior, in the cold darkness of space. A warship moved silently. It belonged to the Kellyrix Empire, rulers of half the galaxy. Inside, everything was cold, clean, and perfect. Emotions were not allowed. Emotions were a weakness. Warriors of Kellyrix were trained from birth to feel nothing. Only logic. Only duty. Commander Zayla walked through the silent halls of the ship. Her armor was black and silver, shining like a star. Her face showed no emotion. Her eyes were calm, like still water. Everyone moved aside when she passed. She was one of the best, strong, loyal, deadly. And she had a secret. Deep inside, Zayla felt something. She didn't understand it. She had dreams she couldn't explain, strange feelings that came and went. Sometimes, when she was alone, she would look at the stars and feel something. But she always hid it. No one could know. That day, Zayla received a mission. The Empire had detected a strange life form on a broken space pod near the red moon of Veltra. It was not from any known planet. It was called a human. Her orders were clear. Capture it, bring it back, and do not speak to it. Zayla took a small team and flew to the red moon. The pod was old and damaged. Smoke came out of it. They entered carefully. Inside, they found him. The human was weak, scared, and hurt. His name was Jack. He looked at the warriors with wide eyes. He spoke in a soft voice. Who are you? The warriors didn't answer. Zayla looked at him without emotion. He was different, smaller, soft, but his eyes were full of fear and something else. Emotion. It made her heart beat faster, just for a moment. Jack was brought to the warship and locked in a small room. He sat on the floor, hugging his knees. Zayla stood outside the glass door, watching. She didn't know why she stayed. Jack noticed her. He stood up and walked closer. "Can you understand me?" he asked. Zayla didn't reply. She was not supposed to, but she kept watching him. He looked tired, sad, alone. "Please," he said. "I don't know where I am. I didn't mean to come here. I was in a ship. There was a crash. Are you going to hurt me?" Zayla turned and walked away, but her hands were shaking and just a little. That night, Zayla had a dream. She was a child again, running in green fields, laughing. Her sister was with her, both of them happy. Then fire fell from the sky. The dream changed. Her sister was gone, and Zayla felt something: pain, fear, loss. She woke up quickly. Her heart was beating fast. She sat in silence, breathing slowly, trying to hide it. The next day, she passed Jack's room again. He was drawing something on the wall with a small piece of metal. "You came back," he said with a small smile. "You don't talk much, huh?" "That's okay. I talk too much. At least, that's what my sister always said." Zayla looked at the drawing. It was a planet, blue and green. "Earth? Is that your home?" she asked quietly. She didn't know why she spoke. Jack's eyes lit up. "Yes, you can talk. Wow. I thought you were like a robot or something." Zayla looked away. "You should rest," Jack sat down. "Do you have a home?" Zayla didn't answer. Jack looked up at the ceiling. "I miss the rain," he said. "The sound it makes on windows, the smell of wet earth. Do you have rain on your planet?" Zayla closed her eyes for a moment. She remembered rain. It was long ago, when she was still allowed to feel. "Not anymore," she said softly. Hours passed. Zayla stayed outside his room, pretending to guard. But she was listening. Later, when the ship was quiet, she returned again. Jack was asleep now. His face was peaceful. He looked so human, so alive. Then, he whispered in his sleep, "Please, don't leave me." And something deep inside Zayla broke. Her chest felt heavy. Her hands trembled. She turned and walked away fast. No one could see her like this. No one could know. But it was too late. Someone had seen. A shadow moved in the hallway, silent, watching her. The human problem. The lights inside the Kellyrix warship never changed. Always cold. Always white. Always lifeless. But today, something was different. Something was wrong. Commander Zayla walked through the steel corridor, her steps sharp and perfect, but inside her thoughts were loud. Too loud. She kept hearing Jack's voice in her mind, the way he whispered in sleep. Please, don't leave me. Zayla had seen hundreds of species. Prisoners, enemies, creatures far more dangerous than humans. But none of them had ever made her feel anything. Jack did. And she hated that. The door to the control deck opened. High Commander, Vrask was waiting. Tall, cold, his face like stone. You've been near the human too often, he said, not looking at her. You are showing unusual patterns. Zayla straightened her posture. I follow orders. The human is under control. Vrask turned. His eyes glowed slightly, like all senior Kellyrix minds. Emotions are a virus, Zayla. Humans carry too much of it. You must not get close. I understand. But she didn't. Not anymore. Jack sat in his small cell, staring at the wall. For hours. Then suddenly he stood up and walked to the glass. I know you're there, he said softly. You always come back. Zayla stood in the shadows, silent. You act like a machine, Jack said. But you're not, I see it, something in your eyes. Zayla stepped forward. You talk too much. Jack smiled. Yeah, I've been told that my sister used to say the same thing back on Earth, before I lost contact, before everything. Zayla stared at him. Why do you keep talking to me? Because you listen, he said. She said nothing. She should walk away, but her feet wouldn't move. What's your name? Jack asked. She hesitated. No one had asked her that in years. Zayla. Zayla, he repeated softly. It sounds strong, like steel. She looked at him. You're not afraid of me, Jack shrugged. Should I be? Zayla leaned closer to the glass. I could kill you without moving. Maybe, he said, but I don't think you will. She turned and left, fast, angry at herself, angry at him, angry at the part of her that wanted to go back and hear more. In the warrior barracks, a young soldier named Cornax watched her closely. He had seen her stop outside the human's room too many times. He didn't trust it, and in the Empire, distrust was dangerous. He opened a secure channel. This is Soldier Cornax. I believe Commander Zayla may be emotionally compromised. Permission to observe? A reply came quickly. Approved. Proceed with care. Meanwhile, in her private quarters, Zayla was reviewing Jack's escape pod data. Earth, a strange planet, full of water, plants, noise, and love. She paused on one recording, Jack and his sister laughing in the rain. For a second, Zayla smiled. Just a tiny one. Then she froze. Her reflection in the screen showed her smiling. That was dangerous. That was illegal. She quickly shut the screen and took a deep breath. The next day, she went back to Jack's cell. Against her own rules. Against her own training. Why do humans feel so much? She asked suddenly. Jack looked up, surprised. We just do. It's who we are. It helps us survive. Emotions make you weak. Jack walked up to the glass. No, they make us human. What is love? She asked. Jack blinked. You really don't know? Zayla didn't answer. Jack sat down. Love is when someone's pain becomes your pain, when their safety matters more than yours. It hurts. It heals. It's everything. Zayla stood silent. His words touched something buried deep in her, a part of her she had killed long ago. I felt something when you were hurt, she whispered. That's not supposed to happen. Jack looked at her gently. Maybe it's supposed to. Later that night, alarms sounded silently in the security deck. Soldier Cornax was watching the cell feeds. He had recorded everything. He opened a report and attached the file. Commander, Zayla has broken protocol. Subject shows signs of emotional infection. He pressed send. Back in her room, Zayla had another dream. This one was worse. She was on a battlefield. Smoke, fire, screams. Her sister was dying. Zayla was ordered not to stop, not to feel. She obeyed. She left her sister behind. But in the dream, her sister looked at her with the same eyes Jack had. Please, don't leave me. Zayla woke up sweating. Her hands shook. For the first time in years, she cried. Just one tear, and at that moment she knew something inside her was changing. Forbidden feelings, the warship Valkyrian moved through deep space quiet as a ghost. Outside, the stars looked peaceful. Inside, a storm was rising. Commander Zayla stood alone in the training chamber. Lights above flickered as her blade sliced through the air. Her movements were sharp, controlled, perfect, but her thoughts were not. She swung again. Harder. Faster. Why can't I stop thinking about him? She thought. Jack, the human. A prisoner. A weakness. Yet, his words kept echoing in her mind. Love is when someone's pain becomes your pain. No Kellerix warrior was ever meant to hear such things. No Kellerix warrior was supposed to feel, but Zayla was feeling, and it was breaking her. In a hidden room far below the command deck, High Commander Vrask received the surveillance file. He watched silently as the footage played, Zayla speaking to the human, asking questions, showing concern. His eyes narrowed. He pressed a button. Assemble the council. We may have a corruption. Jack sat quietly in his cell, tracing a memory with his finger on the glass wall. He wasn't sure what day it was anymore. Space had no sun, no sky. But he knew something had changed in Zayla. She had emotions. She was just scared of them. He whispered to himself, they've trained her to be hollow. But she's not. Then he looked up and saw her. Zayla stepped into view, standing still like a shadow. You're late, Jack said with a small smile. I thought maybe they locked you up too. I was training, she replied. And thinking. About me? She didn't answer. Jack walked closer. Zayla, why are you really here? Her hands tightened at her sides. I don't know. Yes, you do, he said gently. You don't want to lose yourself. Zayla looked straight at him. I already am. That night, Zayla walked the empty halls of the ship. Cold steel surrounded her, but her chest felt hot, tight, like something was alive inside. She stopped in front of a sealed door, her old quarters, untouched for years. Inside was a small box hidden under metal floor tiles. She opened it. Inside were two things, a necklace her sister gave her, and a banned memory crystal. She hadn't watched it since the day her emotions were locked away. Her fingers hovered over it. Then she gave in. The hologram appeared. Two young girls running in a garden, laughing. One of them, Zayla. The other, her sister, Ilara. Zayla felt her knees weaken. She sat on the floor, silent, tears falling. You promised you'd never forget me, the young Ilara said in the recording, but she had. Until now. Meanwhile, in the Shadow Observatory chamber, Vrask stood before the War Council. 7 minds connected through light. Commander Zayla has shown signs of emotional compromise, Vrask reported. How deep is the infection? Asked one of the voices, unknown. But she speaks to the human often. She may have already formed a bond. Then the solution is clear, said another. Terminate the human. A silent pause. Vrask nodded. I will inform her. Zayla was called to the main deck. She stood before Vrask, calm on the outside, storm inside, Commander. Vrask said slowly, the council has made its decision. The human is to be destroyed at the next cycle. Zayla's heart froze. You will carry out the execution yourself. Her voice was low. May I ask, why? Because you must prove loyalty, Vrask said. Emotion is a crack. Cracks become weakness. Weakness becomes death. Zayla stared straight ahead. Understood. But something had broken in her eyes. That night, she went to Jack's room again. For the last time, she told herself. They ordered your death, she said without warning. Jack looked at her calm. Are you going to follow that order? Zayla looked away. I should. But you won't. You don't know that. I know you. For a long time, no one spoke. Then Jack walked to the glass. If you kill me, you go back to being empty, a perfect machine. But if you save me, you become something more. I can't betray them, Zayla whispered. You already did, he said. The moment you felt. Zayla stood alone in the ship's shrine room. It was a place warriors rarely entered. A cold place for honoring the dead. She lit a single flame in memory of her sister. Then she whispered, I'm sorry. Behind her, a camera light blinked red. In the command center, Vrask watched Zayla's actions. He turned to Cornax. She won't follow orders. Prepare to restrain her. But Zayla was already moving. She hacked into the system quietly. One hand on the console, one on her weapon. She moved like a ghost through the shadows of the ship. Destination, Jack's cell. Escape plan lights dimmed across the Valkyrian. Every system was in sleep mode, except one Zayla. She moved like a shadow through the hallways, her armor silent, her steps precise. But her heart? It was louder than war drums. Jack had less than 12 hours. That's when the Empire would come. To take him, that's when she was expected to kill him. But instead, she was going to save him. Zayla entered the restricted tech bay where illegal tech was locked behind force fields. Only high commanders had access, but Zayla was smarter than the system. She typed codes. Her fingers moved fast, sharp. The screen blinked. Unauthorized access. Please confirm identity. Zayla pulled a wire from her armor and connected it to the console. The machine hesitated, then gave in. Access granted. She took a quantum phase scrambler, a device used to mask life, signals, and a level 6 lock disruptor. Both were forbidden. Both were perfect. Meanwhile, in Jack's cell, he stared at the ceiling. He wasn't afraid to die anymore. He had already accepted it. But something inside him told him. She wouldn't let it happen. When the door opened, he sat up fast. Zayla stepped inside, not outside the glass, not behind a wall. Inside. His eyes widened. You're really doing this? You don't have much time, she said. We need to move now. Jack stood confused. What about the others? Cameras? Already taken care of, she said. She handed him a small belt device. Put this on. It'll hide your heat signature. What happens if it fails, he asked. We die. Jack smiled nervously. That's comforting. As they moved through the dark corridors, Zayla felt eyes everywhere. The ship was asleep, but danger never slept. At any moment a drone could spot them, or worse, Vrask. They reached the gravity shaft, the fastest way to the escape hangar. You first, Zayla ordered. Jack looked down. The shaft was a vertical tunnel. One wrong move, and he would fall into a reactor core. Are you sure this is a good idea? Zayla gave him a look. He jumped. The anti-fall field caught him and floated him down. Zayla followed right after. But on the command deck, Vrask watched a silent red dot blinking. Section 17. Life signature moved, he said. Cornax stood next to him. She's making her move. Vrask's voice was cold. Lock down all exits. Alert sentry units. Bring her in. Alive. Zayla and Jack reached the hangar, but the doors were sealed. They know, she said. So what now? Jack asked. Zayla didn't reply. She walked to the control panel and placed her hand on it. The system scanned her palm. Warning. DNA clearance rejected. Commander status revoked. She blinked. They stripped my access. Jack stepped forward. I can hotwire it, if it's anything. Like Earth tech. She gave him a curious look. You know how to hack Kellerix panels? I used to fix broken satellites with bubblegum and wires, he said, kneeling. Just give me a second. Zayla pulled out her weapon and stood guard. Every second felt like a lifetime. Got it, Jack shouted. The hangar doors began to open. But then, red lights flashed. Alarms. Automated defense drones dropped from the ceiling, fast and deadly. Run, Zayla shouted. Jack sprinted toward the small shuttle. Zayla fired at the drones with deadly precision, but one of them fired back. A plasma bolt hit Zayla's shoulder. She stumbled, growling in pain, but didn't stop. Jack turned. Zayla, go, she shouted. He climbed into the shuttle, powering it up. Zayla made it inside just as the second wave of drones approached. The doors sealed. Jack hit the thrusters. The ship shook and then silence. They were in space. But Vrask wasn't done. Track them, he ordered. They won't get far. What if they reach neutral territory? Kornax asked. Vrask narrowed his eyes. Then we declare them enemies of the Empire. Inside the escape shuttle, Zayla sat down, bleeding. Jack rushed to her. Your arm? You're hurt. She looked at him, her face pale. Does it always hurt like this? She asked. What, getting shot? Jack joked. No, she whispered. Feeling. He didn't speak. Instead, he took her hand. Sometimes, he said. But it's worth it. Zayla looked out the window. Behind them, the warship Valkyrian was shrinking into the stars. Ahead was freedom, or something like it. But nothing would ever be the same. Mutiny of the heart space stretched endlessly around the stolen shuttle. Cold, silent, infinite. Inside, the silence was broken only by the soft hum of the engine and the shallow breathing of a wounded warrior. Zayla sat on the floor, her back against the wall, eyes closed. Jack was beside her, pressing a cloth to her shoulder. The burn was deep. Alien skin didn't bleed like humans, but the pain was real. You should rest, Jack said softly. I don't rest, she replied, her voice thin. You do now. She opened her eyes. Tired, sharp, full of something she once buried. Care. You risked everything for me, Jack said. Why? Zayla looked at him for a long moment. Because you reminded me I was alive. Meanwhile, back on the warship Valkyrian, Vrask paced across the command deck. She should have been perfect, he growled. We raised her to feel nothing. Kornax stood behind him, stiff. Should we send the assassins? Vrask's eyes glowed. No, not yet. Send a message instead. What kind of message? Vrask smiled, a cruel, cold smile. Let her remember what loyalty costs. Zayla and Jack landed the shuttle on an abandoned moon. Kairos 9, a cold rock once. Home to rebel colonies now lost and forgotten. They found shelter in a broken bunker half buried under ice. The silence was heavy, but it was safe. For now. Inside the bunker, Jack lit a small fire with tech scraps. The warm light flickered on the wall, casting shadows. Zayla sat nearby, silent. You were one of them, Jack said after a while. A perfect soldier, emotionless, deadly. She nodded. What changed? Zayla looked into the flames. I was trained to forget pain. But pain remembers. Your sister, Jack guessed. Zayla didn't look at him. They told me emotions were dangerous, that love was poison. But they lied. What really scared them was that love makes us choose. And I chose wrong once. Jack leaned closer. Tell me. Zayla's voice dropped. Her name was Alara. We trained together. She was the only one who laughed. Zayla stared into the fire like it held her past. One day, during a mission, she broke formation to save a child. She was shot. Command told me to leave her. Orders first. And you followed them, Jack whispered. Zayla nodded slowly. I became their perfect warrior, but something inside me died that day. The fire crackled. And now, she said, you brought it back. Suddenly, a light blinked on the corner console. A signal. Jack ran over. Someone's trying to connect. Zayla froze. Shut it off. But it was too late. The screen turned on. Vrask. His image appeared, cold and gray. Hello, Zayla. She stood tall. I will not return. We know, he said. That's why we sent you a gift. He pressed a button. A hologram appeared. A prison cell. Inside it was an older woman, chained. Zayla's face turned pale. No, she whispered. You remember her, don't you? Vrask said. Unit 3A7, the healer who helped your sister. The one who let you cry when no one was watching. Jack looked at her. Who is she? Zayla didn't speak. Vrask continued. You have 48 hours. Surrender, or she dies. The signal cut. Silence again. Zayla walked outside into the cold wind of the moon, her cloak whipping in the air. Jack followed her. Who is she? He asked again. Zayla stared into the black sky. She was the only adult who ever showed me kindness in the Empire. She risked her life to keep me and my sister safe. Then we save her, Jack said. Zayla turned to him. You don't understand. Vrask won't keep her alive unless I return alone. And if I do, I'll never come back. Jack stepped closer. So we change the rules. What do you mean? He pointed to the stars. We stop running. We fight back. Zayla thought for a long time, then she nodded. If we're going to fight the Empire, she said, we need allies. Jack smiled. Any idea where to find them? Zayla looked past the horizon. Yes, but it means going to the one place I swore never to return. Where? The grave planet. Jack blinked. That sounds promising. Back on Valkyrian, Vrask watched the stars cold as ever. They'll come, he said. Cornax asked. And if they don't? Vrask smiled. Then we burn the memory of her name from the galaxy. On Kairos 9, Zayla and Jack prepared the shuttle for launch. A new path ahead. No more hiding, no more chains, just two fugitives, and a war coming. The warrior's truth. The stars above the grave planet were hidden behind thick clouds of ash. Its sky was black. Its land was broken. No cities, no life. Only ruins and whispers. The shuttle landed slowly, dust swirling around it like ghosts. Jack looked through the window and shivered. This place feels wrong. Zayla didn't speak. She stood at the edge of the ramp, staring into the shadows of her old home. The place where she was created. The place where she was broken. This was Kellerix Prime, the first training world of the Empire. But now, they called it the Grave Planet. Because so many died here, and some never left. As they walked through the ruins, Jack tried to stay close. Zayla's face had changed, harder, colder, not like before. This wasn't the Zayla who smiled by the fire or protected him in the dark. This was the warrior. You trained here? Jack asked carefully. No, she said. I was born here. They reached a large dome-shaped building half buried in ash. The steel doors were bent, melted by old war. Zayla placed her hand on a broken scanner. The system sparked, but the door still opened. Inside, the walls were covered with symbols of power. Armor suits hung like skeletons, and in the center, a long table with empty chairs. This was the High Command's meeting hall, Zayla whispered. They called it the Circle of Silence. No voice was louder than the Empire here. Jack looked around, and now it's all dust. Zayla stepped forward and placed something on the table. Her sister's necklace. I brought her here once, she said. They told me she was weak. They were going to erase her memories, turn her into something else. Did you stop them? Zayla shook her head slowly. I did worse, she whispered. I let them do it. Suddenly, a loud metal crash echoed from the hall behind them. Jack pulled his weapon. What was that? Zayla didn't flinch. They're here. Vrask's men? No, she said. Worse. The ground began to shake. Machines roared to life. From the shadows came the revenants, failed Kelleric's experiments, warriors who were trained too fast, broken too deeply. They had no minds left. Only programming, and they were programmed to kill anything with emotion. Zayla pushed Jack behind her. You run. Now. Not without you. Don't argue. I trained these monsters. I know how to fight them. Jack looked at her eyes. They weren't afraid. They were ready to die. But then, he stepped beside her. Then teach me. The battle began fast and brutal. Zayla moved like lightning, slicing through revenants with perfect strikes. Jack stayed low, using cover, shooting with what little ammo they had left. But the revenants kept coming. Endless. Hungry. Blind. One of them grabbed Jack and threw him against the wall. He screamed. His leg twisted. Blood. Zayla turned, furious. Her scream echoed through the dome, a sound no one had ever heard from a Kellyrix warrior. It wasn't rage, it was fear. She ripped through the last revenants like a storm. When it was done, she dropped her weapon and ran to Jack. His eyes were half closed. Jack, stay with me. He smiled weakly. Guess I'm not good at following orders. You idiot, she whispered, holding him close. Why didn't you run? Because you're worth staying for. Later, inside a hidden chamber, Zayla found what she came for. A sealed data crystal. Glowing red. What is it? Jack asked, his voice shaky. Zayla stared at it. The truth. She placed it into a console. A projection appeared. Vrask, younger, speaking to the council. Subject Zayla is the perfect model. She has potential beyond all others, but her emotional resistance is stronger than expected. Another voice replied, Then use her sister. Break her. Jack's face darkened. They used her sister to control her? Zayla nodded. The next recording played. If she ever breaks protocol, initiate protocol erase. Terminate emotional host and anyone connected. Jack looked at her. You're the host. And you're the connection, Zayla said. That's why they want us both gone. A message flashed on the screen. Signal detected. Incoming vessel, Valkyrian. They were out of time. Outside, the sky lit up with the red glow of the warship descending. Zayla turned to Jack. We can't run anymore. Jack coughed. Then we stand. She nodded. Together. But as the final moments ticked down, Zayla did something unexpected. She took the memory crystal and shattered it. Jack stared. Why? Because truth doesn't live in data, she said. It lives in the choices we make. She took his hand, and for the first time she didn't feel like a soldier. She felt human. Above, Vrask watched the scans. Prepare for orbital strike, he ordered. Kornax hesitated. But Zayla was our greatest creation. Vrask's eyes narrowed. Not anymore. The last emotion. The sky above the grave planet burned red as the Empire warship Valkyrian descended. Winds howled across the broken land. Dust clouds swirled like ghosts of the past. Zayla stood beside Jack at the edge of the ruined dome, her cloak flapping in the wind, her sword glowing with energy. Jack was limping, his legs still damaged, blood dried on his clothes, but his grip on the weapon never shook. Above them, the enemy was coming. The final battle had begun. Inside Valkyrian, Commander, Vrask watched from the control deck. Prepare the orbital cannon, he said. Target the coordinates of the traitors. Kornax turned to him. What if she surrenders? Vrask's voice was like ice. She won't. Not anymore. On the surface, Zayla and Jack took shelter in a cracked tunnel beneath the dome. Jack, I leaned against the wall, breathing hard. You could still run, he said, smiling weakly. You're fast, I'll slow you down. Zayla shook her head. I didn't risk everything to watch you die. So what's the plan? She looked at the device she'd built. A small, unstable EMP bomb wired with stolen Empire tech. We shut them down. The whole ship? Just the cannon. Jack raised an eyebrow. And what if it doesn't work? Zayla looked at him. Then we make sure we die free. As they emerged from the tunnel, drones swarmed the skies like mechanical vultures. Zayla raised her blade, eyes locked on the enemy. But something changed. A flash. A sound. A figure stepped between the drones. Cornax. Alone. His weapon lowered. Zayla, he called out. I need to speak with you. Zayla aimed her blade at him. Speak fast. Vrask has gone too far. I saw the files. They lied to us. You weren't broken. You were stronger than any of us. Why are you telling me this now? She asked. Because the Empire doesn't fear emotions. It fears freedom. And you're proof that a warrior can feel and still fight. Zayla stepped closer. Then help us stop them. Cornax tossed her a code disk. This can disable the cannon, but it must be installed from inside. Jack stepped forward. I'll go. Zayla turned to him sharply. No. Zayla, you're their target. They'll be watching for you. They don't know me. That's why it's too dangerous. He smiled gently. You once said love makes us choose. This is my choice. Minutes later, Jack boarded an old service pod left in the ruins. It had just enough power to reach Valkyrian. Zayla watched him rise into the sky, her chest heavy. She had fought wars, but this was the first time she was afraid. Not for herself, for someone she loved. Inside Valkyrian, Jack slipped through the maintenance tunnels guided by the stolen code. Alarms sounded. Guards shouted. He ran anyway. He reached the core, the massive cannon's control room. He inserted the disk. The screen blinked. Cannon offline. System override confirmed. A moment of silence. Then the alarm changed. Self-destruct initiated. On the surface, Vrask's voice echoed from the skies. This is what emotion brings on death, fire, collapse. Zayla raised her blade. No, she said. It brings truth. As the ship began to explode above, a single pod shot out. Jack, burning, falling, crashing down. Zayla ran to the crash site, her heart pounding. She found him in the wreck, barely, breathing. His eyes opened slowly. Did it work? He whispered. She nodded, tears in her eyes. You stopped them. Jack smiled weakly. Guess I'm a warrior now. Zayla held his hand. No, you're something more. From the wreckage, survivors gathered. Warriors, workers, rebels. They had seen what happened. They saw the Empire fall to a single act of emotion. Love, courage, sacrifice. Zayla stood before them. No longer a commander. No longer a weapon. But something new. A leader. A human heart in an alien world. Days passed. The Empire was silent. Its strongest ship, destroyed. Its perfect warrior, gone rogue. And across the stars, whispers began to spread. There was once an alien warrior who hid her emotions from the galaxy until one human captive changed everything. On a green world far from war, rain fell softly across the fields. Zayla stood beneath the clouds, letting the drops hit her face. Jack walked up behind her, limping, but smiling. It's like Earth, he said, but quieter. Zayla looked at him. No more hiding. No more war. He held her hand, and together they stepped into the rain. The end.